Nicolas Sarkozy, born Nicolas Paul Stéphane Sarkozy de Nagui boxer, the 28th of January 1955, is a French politician who served as the President of France and Co-Prince of Andorra from the 16th of May 2007 until the 15th of May 2012. Before his presidency, he was the leader of the Union for a Popular Movement party. During Jacques Chirac's second presidential term, he served as Minister of the Interior in Jean-Pierre Raffarin's first two governments, then was appointed Minister of Finances in Raffarin's last government and again Minister of the Interior in Dominique de Villepin's government. Sarkozy was also President of the General Council of the Hauts-de-Seine department from 2004 to 2007 and Mayor of Neuilly-sur-Seine, one of the wealthiest communes of France, from 1983 to 2002. He was Minister of the Budget in the government of Édouard Balladur during François Mitterrand's last term. In foreign affairs, Sarkozy promised a strengthening of the Entente Cordiale with the United Kingdom and closer cooperation with the United States. During his term, he faced the late 2000s financial crisis and the Arab Spring. He married Italian-French singer-songwriter Carla Bruni on the 2nd of February 2008 at the Élysée Palace in Paris. In the 2012 election, the socialist François Hollande defeated Sarkozy by a margin of 3.2 percentage points, or 1,139,983 votes. After leaving the presidential office, Sarkozy vowed to retire from public life. However, in September 2014, he announced his return to politics, and the UMP party has subsequently re-elected him as its leader. On the 2nd of July 2014, Sarkozy was charged with corruption by French prosecutors. Personal life. Family background. Sarkozy is the son of Palist van Erno Sarkozy de Nagui boxer, in some sources Nagui boxer Sarkozy Palist van Erno, a Hungarian aristocrat, and André Jean Dardu Mala, whose Greek-Jewish father converted to Catholicism to marry Sarkozy's French Catholic maternal grandmother. They were married in the Saint-François de Sales Church, 17th arrondissement of Paris, on 8 February 1950 and divorced in 1959. Early life. During Sarkozy's childhood, his father founded his own advertising agency and became wealthy. The family lived in a mansion owned by Sarkozy's maternal grandfather, Bénédicte Marla, in the 17th arrondissement of Paris. The family later moved to Neuilly-sur-Seine, one of the wealthiest communes of the Île-de-France region immediately west of Paris. According to Sarkozy, his staunchly Gaullist grandfather was more of an influence on him than his father, whom he rarely saw. Sarkozy was, accordingly, raised Catholic. Sarkozy said that being abandoned by his father shaped much of who he is today. He also has said that, in his early years, he felt inferior in relation to his wealthier and taller classmates. What made me who I am now is the sum of all the humiliations suffered during childhood, he said later. Education. Sarkozy was enrolled in the Lycée Chaptal, a well-regarded public middle and high school in Paris's 8th arrondissement, where he failed his Sixima. His family then sent him to the Cours Saint-Louis de Montsou, a private Catholic school in the 17th arrondissement, where he was reportedly a mediocre student, but where he nonetheless obtained his baccalaureate in 1973. Sarkozy enrolled at the Université Paris-Aix-Nanterre, where he graduated with an M.A. in private law and, later, with a DEA degree in business law. Paris-Aix-Nanterre had been the starting place for the May '68 student movement and was still a stronghold of leftist students. Described as a quiet student, Sarkozy soon joined the right-wing student organization, in which he was very active. He completed his military service as a part-time Air Force cleaner. After graduating from university, Sarkozy entered Sciences Po, where he studied between 1979 and 1981. but failed to graduate due to an insufficient command of the English language. After passing the bar, Sarkozy became a lawyer specializing in business and family law and was one of Silvio Berlusconi's top French lawyers. Marriages. Marie-Dominique Culioli. Sarkozy married his first wife, Marie-Dominique Culioli, on 23 September 1982. Her father was a pharmacist from Vico. Her uncle was Achille Peretti, the mayor of Neuilly-sur-Seine from 1947 to 1983 and Sarkozy's political mentor. They had two sons, Pierre, now a hip-hop producer, and Jean, now a local politician in the city of Neuilly-sur-Seine, where Sarkozy started his own political career. Sarkozy's best man was the prominent right-wing politician Charles Pasqua, later to become a political opponent. Sarkozy divorced Culioli in 1996, after they had been separated for several years. Cécilia Sigona-Albéniz. As mayor of Neuilly-sur-Seine, Sarkozy met former fashion model and public relations executive Cécilia Sigona-Albéniz when he officiated at her wedding to television host Jacques Martin. In 1988, she left her husband for Sarkozy, and divorced Martin 1 year later. Sarkozy married her in October 1996, with witnesses Martin Biga and Bernard Arnault. They have one son, Louis, born 23 April 1997. Between 2002 and 2005, the couple often appeared together on public occasions, with Cécilia Sarkozy acting as the chief aide for her husband. On 25 May 2005, however, the Swiss newspaper Le Matin revealed that she had left Sarkozy for French-Moroccan national Richard Atters, head of Publicis in New York. There were other accusations of a private nature in Le Matin, which led to Sarkozy suing the paper. In the meantime, he was said to have had an affair with a journalist of Le Figaro, and Fulda. Sarkozy and Cécilia ultimately divorced on 15 October 2007, soon after his election as president. Carla Bruni. Less than a month after separating from Cécilia, Sarkozy met Italian-born singer, songwriter and former fashion model Carla Bruni at a dinner party, and soon entered a relationship with her. They married on 2 February 2008 at the Élysée Palace in Paris. The couple has a daughter, Julia, born on 19 October 2011. It was the first time a French president has had a child while in office. Personal wealth. Sarkozy declared to the Constitutional Council a net worth of €2 million, most of the assets being in the form of life insurance policies. As the French president, one of his first actions was to give himself a pay raise. His yearly salary went from €101,000 to €240,000. He is also entitled to a mayoral pension as a former mayor of Neuilly-sur-Seine, member of the National Assembly. Sarkozy is recognized by both the French parties on both the right and the left as a skilled politician and striking orator. His supporters within France emphasize his charisma, political innovation and willingness to make a dramatic break amid mounting disaffection against politics as usual. Overall, he is considered more pro-United States and pro-Israeli than most French politicians. Since November 2004, Sarkozy has been president of the Union pour un mouvement populaire, France's major right-wing political party, and he was Minister of the Interior in the government of Prime Minister Dominique de Villepin, with the honorific title of Minister of State, making him effectively the number 3 official in the French state after President Jacques Chirac and Villepin. His ministerial responsibilities included law enforcement and working to coordinate relationships between the national and local governments, as well as Minister of Worship. Previously, he was a deputy to the French National Assembly. He was forced to resign this position in order to accept his ministerial appointment. He previously also held several ministerial posts, including finance minister, in government. 1993 to 95. Sarkozy's political career began when he was 23, when he became a city councillor in Neuilly-sur-Seine. A member of the neo-Gaullist party RPR, he went on to be elected mayor of that town, after the death of the incumbent mayor Achille Peretti. Sarkozy had been close to Peretti, as his mother was Peretti's secretary. A more senior RPR councillor, Charles Pasqua, wanted to become mayor, and asked Sarkozy to organize his campaign. Instead, Sarkozy took advantage of Pasqua's short illness to propel himself into the office of mayor. He was the youngest mayor of any town in France, with a population of over 50,000. He served from 1983 to 2002. In 1988, he became a deputy in the National Assembly. In 1993, Sarkozy was in the national news for personally negotiating with the human bomb, a man who had taken small children hostage in a kindergarten in Neuilly. The human bomb was killed after 2 days of talks by policemen of the raid, who entered the school stealthily while the attacker was resting. At the same time, from 1993 to 1995, he was Minister for the Budget and spokesman for the executive in the cabinet of Prime Minister Edouard Balladur. Throughout most of his early career, Sarkozy had been seen as a protégé of Jacques Chirac. During his tenure, he increased France's public debt more than any other French budget minister, by the equivalent of €200 billion. The first two budgets he submitted to the Parliament assumed a yearly budget deficit equivalent to 6% of GDP. According to the Maastricht Treaty, the French yearly budget deficit may not exceed 3% of France's GDP. In 1995, he spurned Chirac and backed Edouard Balladur for President of France. After Chirac won the election, Sarkozy lost his position as Minister for the Budget, and found himself outside the circles of power. However, he returned after the right-wing defeat at the 1997 parliamentary election, as the number 2 candidate of the RPR. When the party leader Philippe Séguin resigned, in 1999, he took the leadership of the neo-Gaullist party. But it obtained its worst result at the 1999 European Parliament election, winning 12.7% of the votes, less than the dissident Rally for France of Charles Pasqua. Sarkozy lost the RPR leadership. In 2002, however, after his re-election as President of the French Republic, Chirac appointed Sarkozy as French Minister of the Interior in the cabinet of Prime Minister Jean-Pierre Raffarin. Despite Sarkozy's support of Edouard Balladur for French president in 1995, following Chirac's 14 July keynote speech on road safety, Sarkozy as Interior Minister pushed through new legislation leading to the mass purchase of speed cameras and a campaign to increase the awareness of dangers on the roads. In the cabinet reshuffle of 30 April 2004, Sarkozy became finance minister. Tensions continued to build between Sarkozy and Chirac and within the UMP party, as Sarkozy's intentions of becoming head of the party after the resignation of Alain Juppé became clear. In party elections of 10 November 2004, Sarkozy became leader of the UMP with 85% of the vote. In accordance with an agreement with Chirac, he resigned as finance minister. Sarkozy's ascent was marked by the division of UMP between Sarkozystists, such as Sarkozy's first lieutenant, Brice Hortefeux, and Chirac loyalists, such as Jean-Louis Debré. Sarkozy was made Chevalier de la Légion d'honneur by President Chirac in February 2005. He was re-elected on 13 March 2005 to the National Assembly. On 31 May 2005, the main French news radio station France Info reported a rumor that Sarkozy was to be reappointed Minister of the Interior in the government of Dominique de Villepin without resigning from the UMP leadership. This was confirmed on 2 June 2005, when the members of the government were officially announced. first term as Minister of the Interior, 2002–04. Towards the end of his first term as Minister of the Interior, in 2004, Sarkozy was the most divisive conservative politician in France, according to polls conducted at the beginning of 2004. Sarkozy has sought to ease the sometimes tense relationships between the general French population and the Muslim community. Unlike the Catholic Church in France with their official leaders or Protestants with their umbrella organizations, the French Muslim community had a lack of structure with no group that could legitimately deal with the French government on their behalf. Sarkozy supported the foundation in May 2003 of the private non-profit Conseil Français du Culte Musulman, an organization meant to be representative of French Muslims. In addition, Sarkozy has suggested amending the 1905 law on the separation of church and state, mostly in order to be able to finance mosques and other Muslim institutions with public funds so that they are less reliant on money from outside of France. It was not followed by any concrete measure. Minister of Finance. During his short appointment as Minister of Finance, Sarkozy was responsible for introducing a number of policies. The degree to which this reflected libéralisme or more traditional French state dirigisme is controversial. He resigned the day following his election as president of the UMP. In September 2004, Sarkozy oversaw the reduction of the government ownership stake in France TEQT-LEQT-COM from 50.4% to 41%. Sarkozy backed a partial nationalization of the large engineering company Alstom decided by his predecessor when the company was exposed to bankruptcy in 2003. In June 2004, Sarkozy reached an agreement with the major retail chains in France to concertedly lower prices on household goods by an average of 2%. The success of this measure is disputed, with studies suggesting that the decrease was close to 1% in September. Taxes. Sarkozy avoided taking a position on the ISF. This is considered an ideological symbol by many on the left and right. Some in the business world and on the liberal right, such as Alain Madelin, wanted it abolished. For Sarkozy, that would have risked being categorized by the left as a gift to the richest classes of society at a time of economic difficulties. Second term as Minister of the Interior, 2005–07. During his second term at the Ministry of the Interior, Sarkozy was initially more discreet about his ministerial activities. Instead of focusing on his own topic of law and order, many of his declarations addressed wider issues, since he was expressing his opinions as head of the UMP party. However, the civil unrest in autumn 2005 put law enforcement in the spotlight again. Sarkozy was accused of having provoked the unrest by calling young delinquents from housing projects a rabble in Argenteuil near Paris, and controversially suggested cleansing the minority suburbs with a karcher. After the accidental death of two youths, which sparked the riots, Sarkozy first blamed it on hoodlums and gangsters. These remarks were sharply criticized by many on the left wing and by a member of his own government, Delegate Minister for Equal Opportunities Azouz Begag. After the rioting, he made a number of announcements on future policy. Selection of immigrants, greater tracking of immigrants, and a reform on the 1945 Ordinance government justice measures for young delinquents. UMP leader. Before he was elected President of France, Sarkozy was President of UMP, the French Conservative Party, elected with 85% of the vote. During his presidency, the number of members has significantly increased. In 2005, he supported a yes vote in the French referendum on the European Constitution, but the no vote won. Throughout 2005, Sarkozy called for radical changes in France's economic and social policies. These calls culminated in an interview with Le Monde on 8 September 2005, during which he claimed that the French had been misled for 30 years by false promises. Among other issues, He called for a simplified and fairer taxation system, with fewer loopholes and a maximum taxation rate at 50% of revenue. He approved measures reducing or denying social support to unemployed workers who refuse work offered to them. He pressed for a reduction in the budget deficit, claiming that the French state has been living off credit for some time. Such policies are what are called in France liberal or, with a pejorative undertone, ultra-liberal. Sarkozy rejects this label of liberal and prefers to call himself a pragmatist. Sarkozy opened another avenue of controversy by declaring that he wanted a reform of the immigration system, with quotas designed to admit the skilled workers needed by the French economy. He also wants to reform the current French system for foreign students, saying that it enables foreign students to take open-ended curricula in order to obtain residency in France. Instead, he wants to select the best students to the best curricula in France. In early 2006, the French Parliament adopted a controversial bill known as DADVSA, which reforms French copyright law. Since his party was divided on the issue, Sarkozy stepped in and organized meetings between various parties involved. Later, groups such as the ODB League and EUCD.info alleged that Sarkozy personally and unofficially supported certain amendments to the law, which enacted strong penalties against designers of peer-to-peer systems.